Jesus Christ, even more people? So I've reached 10,000 subscribers, and that number has continued to climb whilst I've wasted time trying to figure out what to do with myself. That was fast. And whilst I know that number is predominantly from the one video, you know the one, I'm still dumbfounded and amazed and happy that this has happened. Thank you everyone for your interest, it means a lot. When I started this channel, the idea was that I'd take this thing I already do in my spare time, obsess and gibber about media to my fiancé, and put a little more elbow grease into it. If I was gonna do it anyway, I might as well put effort in, and some people seem to enjoy it. More people than I've ever been in one room with at once, in fact, so that's pretty rad, and I cannot thank you enough for that. I'm a very deadpan person in my day-to-day, so understand that I mean that. Your interest in this work is humbling. So a couple of things in the pipe for you. I'm making another game design video soon, more in line with the KBU thing, and I may make a video about other KBU likes since people love that so much, and also maybe to respond to some comments, I'm not sure. And I have a maybe anime video idea I'm thinking about that my fiancé is trying to convince me not to make, which just makes me want to make it more, honestly. And any random thought that enters my head and I feel like articulating may enter the channel. I don't know, that's the issue with this format. This is all just the ramblings of an autistic adult, so I can't tell you what I may do 2 months from now. All I can tell you is what we're here for today. As a way to celebrate 10,000, rapidly approaching 11,000 subscribers, I asked myself, what do the people want? What do they crave? And so, I set out to deliver. Today, I'm going to lay out my definitive tier list for the Sonic theme songs. I warned you this would be dumb. I grew up playing Sonic games and deeply obsessed over them to roughly the beginning of high school, and still hold a deep regard for some of those older games. A lot of the reason why I loved Sonic so much as a wee lad was how anime it was. Though I didn't know that word at the time, doing a Super Saiyan power-up and then flying through space to destroy a giant mechanical monster whilst your theme song plays in the background is very anime, and the level of hype that poured into my tiny brain was too much to bear. I was a little boy not supposed to get obsessed with this. The second reason is the subject of this video, the music. Sonic's touched upon multiple genres, some within the same game, and each soundtrack tries its best to capture the adventurous, carefree attitude Sonic brings to the table. And the themes are, well, the theme. This is the game represented in audio form. Witness me! But which songs are the biggest pops? Which songs do the best job of representing their game or their characters? Which songs do I simply like the best? This video was very lightly researched. The reasons for why I put things where I do are chiefly my own, and I won't argue with you about it. I will, however, share the tier list I made with y'all, and you can feel free to make your own, and I don't know, share it? Not sure how you're gonna do that, maybe I should make a community page or something. Anyway, I will start at the worst of the themes and work my way up from there. Here's a blocked out version of the tier list, very sleek, very nice. Starting at the very bottom with D tier, we have Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric. This song is a lot of nothing. I know that this is supposed to be a reboot of the series, both in terms of genre and design, but the song doesn't hold a lot of Sonic's identity in it, and perhaps that was the point. I mean, this ain't Sonic as I knew him. But it also doesn't have much to distinguish itself from other games in its genre. It's a nothing burger of a song that sounds like it could be placed in any action-adventure game directed towards children, and it is that lack of identity that places it here at the very bottom. In the middle of D tier is Sonic Lost World. This song at the very least has stuff going on in it. A recognizable repeating theme, sections, the works. It feels like a not Mario song, in all the best ways. Much like the game, which feels like it's copying off of Mario Galaxy's Homework, it's a perfectly competent Nintendo song. Issue though, I don't want this. Sonic is Sonic, Mario is Mario. I don't want them ever colliding unless it's in a 100-meter dash. No Sonic in this song, so it doesn't win in a Sonic tier list. Moving on. Lastly, at the top of D tier, and I'm probably going to anger people with this one, I think, is Sonic Heroes, with its theme, Sonic Heroes, performed by Crush 40. Sonic Heroes is a perfectly good song, and it also fits the vibe of the game it's in, given that it's a very kid-friendly, dumbed-down romp compared to the adventure titles that preceded it. It's just not what I would want from Crush 40. They're a butt rock band, and when you ask a butt rock artist to make an upbeat song, I just feel like the edge that I'd liked from them has been taken out. The final boss theme is better in this regard, but This just feels very sugary, and it's not to my taste. It's purely a personal thing, don't worry about it. Now for the C tier. C tiers are songs that aren't bad or boring in my opinion, but I wouldn't be listening to them in my spare time. Through the bottom of the list we have the jingles. These aren't tunes, but setups to games with too little memory to dedicate to full-on songs. At the very bottom, Sonic 3D Blast. This is Sonic's first foray into 3D, and I say that in quotes because it's a trick of the engine, not unlike how the original Doom also isn't in 3D, but a very clever graphical trick that allows us to perceive it in 3D. The song is very distinct for the next couple of jingles we will hear in Sonic's 2D era, and I almost think that's on purpose. The sound font makes it stand out from the other Sonic games, as if to communicate that this will be a different Sonic, a 3D Sonic. It's serviceable, but not a standout, and that's why I place it here. Skipping Sonic 1 because Sonic 2 has basically the exact same jingle, Sonic 2! Wow. The drum line is better, and the bass hit at the end now has some sparkles on it, or jimmies if you're from the New England region. Those sparkles edge this just above the original for me. Love the sparkles. Big fan of bells. Into the middle of C, we have a game that I never beat because I was too small to adequately play a racing game, Sonic Riders, with its theme song Sonic Speed Riders by Rumblebee. I love that name. Rumblebee is good. The song's electro-rock stylings give off a vibe of a future world if it were designed by skateboarders, not unlike the setting of the game itself. It does a good job setting you up emotionally for what you're about to get into, which is a racing game in keeping with Sonic's devil-may-care 90s attitude. The reason why this song's so low is because I wouldn't personally bop to this. The lyrics, the guitar, all of it's a little too repetitive. And I know that's the idea behind DDM, but it's a little too down the middle for me to want to dance to it either. Bit boring is all I'm saying. Nextly, our final jingle for the C tier, Are There More to Come? The Sonic Spinball jingle. Why is this better than all the other jingles? It's got funk, that's why. Literally the only reason. It's just a matter of taste. I like the bumper sound with its percussive lead-in to the song itself. That rules. But if I'm being honest, I'm not here to talk about this jingle. Anyone who's played Sonic Spinball would know the real banger on the soundtrack is the first level, Toxic Caves. The song rips so hard. Listen to that bass. The place this is rated is based off of the jingle, but if I were rating Toxic Caves, A tier, maybe even S tier. You owe it to yourself to give this song a go-around if you hadn't had the pleasure of listening to it. There are remixes out there, it's been modernized, it's a bop, I assure you, and these people know it as well, so give it a listen, for real. In second place for C tier, we have Sonic Unleashed. The second time Sega decided to go all out on a 3D Sonic game and wasn't as successful as they would have hoped. When I was doing the very light research for this video, I discovered something. Close your eyes for a moment. When you imagine the theme song to Sonic Unleashed, what do you think of? Because for me, I think of this. The World Adventure by the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra. Surely we all understand why I made this mistake, right? It plays on the opening of the game, it plays on every screen clear, there are variations of it in cutscenes and when you make mistakes, plus the soundtrack of the game is very worldly, in keeping with Sonic's adventure across the entire world. With instrumentations and stylings meant to evoke the regions Sonic is exploring, the grandiose and adventurous sound of the World Adventure makes perfect sense as the overall theme, right? Well, it isn't. I'm about to spoil the final boss song, but I won't show anything on screen, so skip ahead by this much if you don't want audio spoilers. So you're at the final boss, right? Supersonic form, big honkin' baddie in front of you, flying through the air on a coin timer, you know how Sonic works. And the music is swelling in triumph as you fight it, and it plays this. This is screaming orchestral cover of something, right? You're in anime mode, so you aren't really thinking about it. But when the credits hit, you hear the actual version of the boss song you just heard, and it's Sonic Unleashed's actual theme, Endless Possibility, performed by Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup of all people. The song is good, it's a really uplifting bop, and it fits in with Bowling for Soup's energy level of punkish optimism.
This is my escape. I'm running through this world and I'm not looking back. 'Cause I know I can't go where no one's ever gone and I'm not looking back.
I place it down here for two reasons, though. One, why'd they hide this theme in the credits in a collectible? They should have played it more. And two, the bubblegum punk is a little, off-tone for this game. The world is cracked open, an eldritch horror from within the earth threatens to consume it, Sonic converts to a dark form in the nighttime, and the people of the world are being affected by the big bad's Lovecraftian magic. This is the highest the stakes have ever been for Sonic, and up until this point, I don't think we've gotten higher than that. So for such a happy song to be its theme, yeah, this song is good, it just doesn't fit the game it's in as much as I would like. And finally, at the top of C tier, the menu music to the Sonic Mega Collection. This is purely a nostalgia pick. This is what actually got me into the Sonic franchise, and how I played all those original 2D games as a wee lad. It had a huge collection of Sonic games, including most of the 2D spin-offs I've referred to thus far, as well as some games from the greater Sega lineup. Also, shout out to Comix Zone, a game that I played all the time on the Mega Collection, which I discovered, thanks to the light research I did for this, only released on some of the original batches of Sonic Mega Collection Plus on the PlayStation 2, and only if you had Sonic Heroes on the memory card. So, turns out that that's a pretty specific thing to unlock, and that memory is really inexplicably tied to that game for me, so yeah. But did you know it also came packed with concept art for the upcoming Sonic Heroes, and almost every single issue of the Archie Sonic comics released up until that point? It mostly just had their covers, save for two of the very old full issues, but damn, there was a lot to look at, and I poured through these comics over and over and over in my youth. And in the background of that was always this song. Very chill, very relaxing. Feels like a good song to relax to, study to, whatever. I owe this game collection for my childhood obsession with the Sonic series and for knowing way too much about Sonic lore. And for that, I thank it. Feel free to pull up the 30-minute extended version of this menu on YouTube for when you need to study. You're welcome. On to B tier, where the songs are good, they're bops, they're vibes, but something is holding them back. First up at the bottom, the final jingle in our list, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Still very much in keeping with Sonic's 2D vibe, but there's so much more going on with this one. The music rising with the fall of the Death Egg, yes, that is what that thing is called. The adventure not quite over as Sonic 3 rolls over into its DLC, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yes, you heard me right. Sonic and Knuckles is essentially DLC that tacks onto the back end of Sonic 3 by way of a literal cartridge adapter. This is as big as Sonic got in the 2D era, and the opening jingle tries to represent the scale of this game with its instrumentation, and the fact that it isn't 12 seconds long. It only makes sense that the biggest game of the 2D era is the highest up on the list among its peers, and I am happy with that. It did well. Good job, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Following that, the only handheld Sonic game I ever played, Sonic Rush, with its theme song, A New Day. You're gonna hear me say this a lot in reference to Sonic songs, but this is driving. It's got energy, it makes you want to bounce when you listen to it. And while this song is nothing like the 3D counterparts coming out around the same time, you wouldn't want it to be. Ever heard the DS try to play rock? There's a lot of sound happening in rock and metal, and the speakers of the DS just kind of make that money. Going with what I would call a sample-heavy dance track makes sense for what the DS could pull off, and gives the handheld games their distinctive style. I just wish we had a less crushed version for modern sound systems, a common complaint in my house. That's really the only thing that's holding this back. It needs a modern version. Next, Sonic CD's non-American theme song. You can do anything, sometimes called Toot Toot Sonic Warrior within the fanbase. Since there's a very good chance that my fellow Americans haven't heard this one, I'm going to shut up so that you guys can bask in its glory.
This nation heaven. Stay alive. Now you and me. We're going to have fun. Say, let's go. Excalibur. It's about that bar. What do you mean? Give me change. Going home. Side zone. Check it out, eh? Live alone. Leather legs. Getting in place. What do you get? Say, back check. Zoom room. Cosmic zoom. That's up, Jay. It's Sonic Boom.
It reminds me of early Pokemon themes. That goofy, optimistic energy that Japanese cartoons had in the 90s to early aughts. It's a perfectly good song, but being an American, I didn't grow up with this one. Plus, it feels aged. It's definitely of its time, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, without the nostalgia taking me further, I'm afraid that aged is all that it has going for it in my eyes. Doesn't mean it isn't a bop, though. I just don't have any emotional connection to it. Speaking of aged, rounding up the middle of B tier, Sonic X's theme, Gotta Go Fast, performed by Joseph Garrity and Russell Velasquez.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go faster, 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 faster.
This show ran for 3 seasons on 4Kids.tv, Saturday morning cartoon style. It very much fit in with the other shows on the network at the time. Kirby, right back at ya. The current flavor of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This song is meant to appeal to those tiny kids. I mean, it's got a slide whistle in it. This is meant to be goofy. It's exactly like the last song, and the only reason it edges out on the other one is that I actually did watch Sonic X. I got nostalgia in this one, baby.
He's on the run, Sonic. He's number one, Sonic. He's coming next, so watch out for Sonic. Gotta go fast.
Moving from nostalgia to something I have no nostalgia for, we have Sonic Force's Fist Bump, performed by Douglas Robb of Hoobastank fame. Warning for you, I've never played this. I had escaped the Sonic cycle by this point, so it's only vibes from here. The music and the singer's pitch continue rising as the song goes. Like a rocket, the energy keeps changing, but never going down until the chorus ends, and we head down to the second verse. This game is Sonic's Infinity War, the 3rd time they tried to go all out and missed the stars in trying. Multiple villains, Sonic imprisoned, a war being waged for survival. This song has a desperation in its music, and in the lyrics as well, but crucially, Sonic isn't one for fear and doubts. The lyrics aren't mincing the odds, but it's constantly talking to someone else, encouraging them, assuring them that we're gonna get through this together. And that someone else is your OC. You can make a Sonic OC in this game, everyone knows this, but the lyrics are actively gesturing towards that. I think this song is good as hell, I just personally cringe at my being included in a game besides Sonic. I don't want to be in a Sonic game. I don't want characters turning to regard me like Dora the Explorer. I want these characters to do their thing. There are enough Sonic characters that we can, in this group, figure out a story. You don't need an audience surrogate. That's why the song is where it's at. It's a fantastic song, I just don't like the framing at all. And at the top of B tier, we have Sonic and the Secret Rings theme song, 7 Rings in Hand, performed by Steve Conti. Given the setting of Secret Rings, they decided to make the soundtrack have a lot more Middle Eastern influence, and for the theme, they fused Sonic's butt rock with admittedly just a woman singing in the distance as the fusion they went with. I would have done more than that, but I wasn't paid to make this song, so screw me. This entire song sounds like it's being played 200 feet away in an auditorium, or is that just me? It's a bit slower than other themes, but I really enjoy this one, and clearly someone in Sonic Team did too, because they painted the entirety of Secret Rings with it. Menus, level clears, failure screens. You hear the first 10 seconds of this song non-stop in the game, so I understand if most people think that this should be much lower. I don't, though. It's a good song that's been overplayed inside of the original game, that's all. We've reached A tier, baby! These songs are bops, all of them. Every one of them deserves to be here, and the only reason why others are higher is that they either go harder or fit their game better. At the very bottom, Crush 40 returns from D tier all the way to A tier with Sonic and the Black Knights, Night of the Wind. song is gallant, no other word for it. The lyrics are sparse, and if you were to actually spell it out, you would see that it's a poem of someone, presumably Sonic, communicating his will to protect and to serve in his way. I feel this song does a fantastic job representing a paladin's duty, if a paladin liked butt rock and chili dogs. I need y'all to know though, this game sucks. Do not play it. It is the number 2 of the Storybook series, and I have a feeling this game killed the series before it could have more of itself, so consider that a warning. But the song rules. Great fusion of knightly duty mixed with this tiny blue guy. Next up, Sonic's first attempt to go big or go home in the 3D era, and he certainly went home. Sonic 2006's His World, performed by Zebrahead. This game is bugged as hell, but it could have been something great if it had more time, and I stand by that opinion. The soundtrack is nothing to sneeze at either, making the attempt at something more grandiose than what came before whilst holding onto Sonic identity. Orchestral rock. A clean vocalist with no growl in his voice at all. This is going for epic in a way that Crush 40 songs hadn't. For Sonic's biggest game yet, with a story centering 3 hedgehogs and a time travel plot to save the world, it makes sense to go this way. And while I think that the rap portions are a bit distracting in the same way that Linkin Park's can be distracting, I still think the song's attempt is admirable. There's a remix by Crush 40, which is more of the classic 3D Sonic flavor if you're more into that, but both versions are really good at representing what this game was going for. I say going for, not achieved, because as we all know, 06 was a massive disappointment. On to the middle of A tier, we pivot hard from His World to Sonic Colors' theme, Reach for the Stars, performed by Cash Cash. This is wildly different, and that's because Sonic has basically abandoned the adventure era's design ethos. We're aiming lower in the age bracket, we're getting sillier, we're getting less anime, we're becoming meta. Welcome to Sonic's meta era, and here is where we still are depending on who you talk to. This song is a colorful explosion, like watching a fireworks show, and that's in keeping with the story of Sonic Colors. After all, the game takes place in an amusement park in space, ran by Dr. Eggman. It's goofy, it's exceptionally colorful, and it makes no attempt at being taken seriously, much like the song. But even so, the song is still driving, it's happy, it's optimistic, like Sonic songs should be. I see nothing wrong with this song. It fits Sonic, it fits Colors, and it's a bop through and through. I love this song. Next, we have Sonic R's theme song, Super Sonic Racing, performed by TJ Davis. This is apocrypha, and I have no idea if it's true, but the story goes that the first song made for the game was this one, and they brought TJ Davis in to perform her song, and Sonic's creator, Yuji Naka, loved her work on this song so much that he scrapped everything else and requested that she appear on every single song for the game after this. And that's the story for this weird as hell soundtrack to a racing game with exclusively vocalized songs. That being said, this song rules. Its pop stylings make the game crazy to play, like you're experiencing a fever dream. Racing games aren't supposed to be like this. The Sonic is too cool for school, dude, and his soundtrack doesn't care about your genre conventions. This song is fun, it's lively, it's a real dance track if I've ever heard one, and for that I love it. It may not fit with genre conventions or Sonic R, really, but this song, independent of its game, is really good. And for that, it has to be where it's at. Runner-up in A tier, Sonic CT returns with its American theme, Sonic Boom, performed by Pastiche. This has a completely different vibe from Toot Toot Sonic Warrior, and I honestly think it fits what's happening in Sonic CD. Sonic CD is the original appearance of Metal Sonic, a being who can match Sonic in terms of speed. This is less notable now, but at the time, this hadn't happened, which meant Sonic has for the first time had a true rival. Let's call it a personal grudge. The stakes may have been higher in Sonic 3, but the personal stakes peaked here in the 2D era, and the song's energy is more speaking to the strength of Sonic, like he's a superhero powering up to face Eggman in his newest and most dangerous creation. It feels more fitting to the video that goes along with it, And that's what makes me like it so much. Never has Sonic seemed so powerful before this, so this was a new aspect to the pot-bellied hedgehog than we'd seen previously. I guess what I'm saying is, the song is cool and it makes Sonic feel like he's a super-powered being, and that's why it's here. Finally, at the top of A tier, we have Sonic Adventure 2's Live and Learn, performed by Crush 40. So what makes this song the best? Well, reason one is that it's a Crush 40 theme during the Adventure era. Sonic rarely went harder than this, and this song is a treasure. But the lyrics and music fold really well into the story of the game. Live and Learn is about, well, living through your mistakes and learning from them. The central incident in Sonic Adventure 2 deeply scars our two villains and causes them to perform some terrible actions in the name of vengeance. But whereas Gerald Robotnik died hating humanity for what it's taken from him, Shadow learns to forgive and realize that this is not what that person would have wanted. He then goes about trying to atone for the damage that he's caused by stopping Gerald's suicide plan. By the time Live and Learn is playing at the very end of Adventure 2's story, the song is proudly declaring Shadow's learned and lived through his pain, and he's here to rock. Best Sonic character. It's a fantastic microcosm of the lessons learned through Sonic Adventure 2, whilst being a thorough jam as well, and that is why it is here. Finally, we're at the S tier, where the final 4 themes live. These themes are perfect, flawless, no notes. It's all preference from here. The bronze medal goes to Sonic Mania's theme, Friends, created by Hyper Potion. This song genuinely makes me very emotional. It fits right in with the sound of the 2D era, but fresh and new and celebratory of that same time period. I love how full of life and happy it is. It just really gets me right in the heart. Little me comes out and sits beside me while we listen to this. It's fantastic. Nothing else to say. I can't be critical. I just love this. The silver medal goes to the most recent game in the franchise, Sonic Frontiers theme, I'm Here, performed by Mary Kirk Holmes. Sonic Frontiers is an interesting game in many ways. One, it's obviously trying to eat Breath of the Wild scraps like a lot of folks were after its release. But also, Sonic Frontiers is written by a notable writer from Sonic's history, Ian Flynn. This piqued people's interest in the game tremendously. Sonic, for a long time through the meta era, has felt a little empty. Characterizations dropped, cardboard cutouts of previously well-established characters, character development undone for the sake of new plot points. It's not been great for a while. Ian Flynn's writing means we were getting someone who is very knowledgeable of the characters and their interactions, and the game delivers on that character work. Now, onto the song. This is wildly different from anything we've had before. The stakes in this game aren't world destruction level or anything like that, but the emotional stakes are pretty high. Sonic's friends, captured, potentially being destroyed, a robot girl who's trying to hide her humanity streak, and Sonic, actively losing his ability to fight. Sonic Unleashed has had the highest stakes in the series so far, but I actually think this is higher because the personal stakes feel so high. It's dire, and the song is in the same boat. Emo metal, or post-hardcore if you're being specific. This very melodic, very emotional metal, it rules so hard! Really in keeping with the more thoughtful moments found in the game. Now I must admit, I haven't played Frontiers. I'm afraid of getting back into the Sonic cycle, but the soundtrack has really fantastic songs, and the story is interesting, and the gameplay is... Anyway, give it a try if that's convincing to you. This music is great, and for some people, that's really the reason why you come to Sonic 4, and trust you, me, Sonic Frontiers has that in spades. And finally, the gold. Sonic Adventures Open Your Heart, performed by Crush 40. I really don't think there's anything inherently better about this song compared to Live and Learn. It's all up to preference. So what is it that places it here for me? Well, it has everything to do with Sonic Adventure. The villain of Adventure is Chaos, an immortal force of nature that Sonic spends the entire story attempting to stop. Issue is, he never can. Eggman keeps thwarting him, Chaos keeps consuming more of the Chaos Emeralds, and as the situation keeps getting more and more desperate, Sonic just can't stop him. The game ends with Chaos becoming a gargantuan city-destroying beast which has completely decimated Station Square. Through the power of friendship, Sonic uses the spent Chaos Emeralds in a last-ditch effort to put a stop to Chaos as Super Sonic. The song feels desperate. The lyrics speak of the people who are dying, the suffering, and how this is Sonic's last chance at saving everyone. Even so, he's still confident, he's still trying his best, and he's not letting anything get him down. This song communicates Sonic's candid understanding of the situation and yet relentless optimism in the face of utter destruction, desperation, and yes, chaos. And that's why I think this song edges it out for me. Live and Learn is a story of triumph. Open Your Heart is a story of heroism in the face of terrible odds. And that's just more compelling to me. And that's why it's in my number 1 spot for S tier. But what's this? There's one more song? In the top S tier, we have I Am All of Me, performed by Crush 40, all along in the greatest tier of all, the Shadow tier. Is Shadow the Hedgehog a good video game? No. Is Shadow the Hedgehog's story a good time despite that? Also no. Shadow the Hedgehog is a mistake of a video game that took the character of Shadow, read the first sentence of his character synopsis, and said, "Yep, I think I can make a game about this guy," and stopped reading the rest. I am bitter about what this game did to Shadow as a character, and he's never really recovered. I mean, that's not true. He did recover, it's just that that game also didn't perform well, so no one remembers that. What is it about this song, then, that puts it on top? My opinion, that's what. Crush 40 hasn't been able to make a song like this yet. Sonic, I love him. He's a great guy, but he's a relentless optimist who loves fun and being carefree first and foremost. His themes all have a similar vibe as a result of that, but Shadow has a different view of things. He's morally ambivalent. He loves his friends, but has a hard time showing it. He has a superiority complex that he's attempting to walk back now. And this song is allowed to be a lot darker as a result of its subject matter. The entire soundtrack of Shadow the Hedgehog goes much harder and is grungier thanks to this, and I genuinely think it's one of Sonic Team's best soundtracks. And this song is a great flagship for Shadow as a character, if a little two-dimensional. And it's just such a headbanging tune. I love it. And it's my number 1. I love this one. This is the best thing Crush 40 made, best thing it's ever come out, in my opinion. And also Knuckles' theme. So that's my tier list. Thank you for watching this dumb thing I made in celebration of something that happened way quicker than I was ready for and I had nothing planned for. Let me know your thoughts or your own tier lists in the comments, or whatever else you guys may want to see in the future. Maybe I'll make a social media for my crap so y'all can engage with me, I don't know, I'm pretty allergic to social media, so we'll see on that. As always, I am Super Dude, and I thank you both for watching and for coming with me on this ride, cause, wow, 10,000, probably 11,000 by the time that I'm done editing this. Insane.